successfully connected. Awesome. These surrenders are so beautiful. Good morning, Shannon. Thank you for being here. Trevor, so glad to see you. Chase. Now, more. I invite you. Claudia, good to be here. Sarah, Janie, Angie. I invite you to allow the cleansing gift of sage. Saging yourself is tremendous. It's a basic attunement. The spirit of this plant takes away that which is out of tune with the natural elements of the earth. Now, it's a choice. It's an alignment. It's an alliance. It's a deep friendship with the spirit of this plant. And I invite you to trust it. In my experience, very helpful, very consistent. It will drive away elements before you understand what they are. It will drive away. Wow, guys, what's going on? There's a lot. There's a lot to move. It will drive away thoughts that you think make sense, but they generate energy that's not healthy. And when you let sage help you make this choice, you become something of deeper trust. The trust is a hallmark of this transition. As you awaken in these ways, you become something that is, in a certain perspective, less full of free will. You can't make certain choices anymore because Gaia is essentially showing you limits. And you might not like those limits right away. The advantage of going too far in many directions, as I have, is that you learn to really appreciate healthy limits. Now look up. Look up. Through the roof, there's a sky. The sky's a roof. The sky's a limit. There is no reality without limits. None. There's nothing wrong with limits. You can't create without limits. The right limits, the correct limits for you, that's another story. Sometimes folks are raised, trapped within the wrong limits for so long that you learn to resent limits themselves because you don't know what's wrong. For a while, I dreamed of living without food. And then I became a vegetarian and realized that I was eating nasty meat that was making me sick. I didn't understand my own signals enough to realize that it was the meat that was poisoning me. So I went ballistic in my mind and just tried to let go of everything. When you don't know what's wrong, a part of you has the natural instinct to go Kali. Kali is the goddess born of Shiva's mind to destroy the demon that nothing else could stop, even Shiva himself. Kali goes ballistic and destroys everything associated with the demon. And a part of you will turn into a creature like this when you're confronted with a poison and don't recognize the source. And you are matching the intensity and the scope of the threat you're under. It's not evil. It might be destructive in an unhelpful way. And part of true healing is to get really good at discerning what's actually going wrong. As you get your mind to align with your spirit and your body, you begin to clearly see what is happening around you. And the disadvantage of clearly seeing is you have to see. You have to see the pain that's occurring to you. You have to connect the ways in which you are living in unhealthy patterns. You have to recognize people you love participating in them. You have to see the anger and the rage and the pain and the people around you more honestly. You have to move through layers of confusion, misinterpreting what you're seeing as you try to piece together and make sense of the chaos of a much broader field of vision. Some people call these fifth dimension. I'm not enthralled with the title. I think it's misleading. But this is what we're talking about. And I think the mundane, the tangible, the truth, the raw reality of moving through these layers is that it's very confusing until you move through it with the kind of navigation that is actually provided by yourself. I saw a clip of some jackass corporate guru style dude pushing people to go further. Come on, do this for yourself. Empty your bank account now. And this poor guy was like, pray. I think it's going to work. He's praying that his credit card will let this charge for several $1,000s to extend his stay at the retreat he's on. So he's being told he has to leave the retreat unless he has a couple thousand more dollars. The poor dude is breaking down and crying, and the credit card gets rejected. And the corporate guru guy goes, "You have let yourself down by being in this position." It's awful. It's just like, it's as depressing and like absurd as it could be. Let's moderate that to say these. I am here as a spiritual teacher telling you that you have to own responsibility. I'm not going to play you. I'm not going to milk you for all you're worth, ever. You need to own responsibility for what we're going to learn today. Because the challenges that arise are challenges that you might not have to deal with if you leave now. You can't learn to see honestly unless you move through the potential to be confused in ways that you've been able to avoid. Now, chances are a lot of you are already confused in these ways. You know who you are. If you see confused faces in other people and you don't know how to interpret them, if you go through sharp changes in emotion as energies come through you and expose a vision of the people around you where you're a little bit paranoid at times. And if you're honest with yourself, you know this to be true. So if you're already in this, stay. If you're not, I still invite you to stay because there's no other way than crossing through. And I'm doing my best here to teach you how to cross through with as little confusion as possible. Do you hear voices in your mind? Do you recognize that they are not your own? Are you challenged interpreting the difference between a voice that may be your own and may not, and a voice that feels insane? Are you afraid that even admitting this will make it worse? Are you aware that focusing on something does empower it, imbue it with strength in a way that avoiding it doesn't? Are you conscious of the difference between a path you have to take and a path that is a choice still? There is a choice to avoid or to embrace your true journey. And the journey goes through opening your eyes. Learning to open your eyes together is a very different experience than learning to keep this one closed. When this one, your third eye, opens, you begin to see in a way that enables you to hear. Now, I know that might sound strange, but we're talking about a spiritual awareness that transcends the five senses. There's a reason it's called a sixth sense. And it begins with your third eye. But your third eye can see forms, and your forms can read, and the reading has resonance, and the resonance can be heard, and the hearing has presence, and the hearing becomes felt. In order to comprehend a sixth sense, you need to allow the senses you do know to help you interpret this sixth. And as you do, you gain access to the ability to navigate between these. And thus you witness spiritual insight. You hear voices, you feel the presence, and you can even change your focus so you can become more comfortable in one way or another. Meaning, I can shift my focus to resonance and detune from hearing voices in my head. I can feel a resonance and allow it to spark me to tune in and listen to what that resonance has to share. I can shift to visual interpretation when the voices become too much. And I can return to my body and do intense yoga to sweep it all away and generate a fire, a wild flowing fire inside myself that helps me stay focused on the life that I am leading. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to suffer. You are not here to suffer. It is not your purpose. It is not a gift. If you have karma that has put you in this position, then your karma led you here where I can help you be with us. And we can together help create a space in which you don't have to suffer. The suffering of interminable reception of different stimuli that are overwhelming is very unpleasant, bordering between constant anxiety and genuine, legitimate concerns about psychosis. There is no way out but through. Today, I'm going to enter communion with my teacher. My teacher is an ascended master in service with Thoth. She's been my teacher for a long time, and she has never given me permission to legitimately make this connection in the presence of others. Until now, it has been my job to establish basic patterns, basic frequencies designed around the key ring from Thoth, and just to do it again and again and again to cut through the chatter. Your greatest power is not to make voices or presences leave you alone. Your greatest power is to heal and focus on something healthier. This is where we begin and end, because the focus of your health is where you put your attention. And the power of this work is to suggest that when this doesn't work, you can learn to measure whether something needs your attention in extra form. Sometimes we carry resonance that needs our focus. It can't resolve without our help in one way or another. We need to learn a lesson from it before it leaves. Despite the pain or the anguish of the burden that we bear, that burden is not going to leave until I allow myself to change in relationship to this, because this is ultimately a lesson from my past that I have not fully integrated, and this is consistent. You must embrace the invitation to treat everything you carry as something of value. Everything. There is a place where everything you carry belongs. If nothing else, as compost. If you are trying to get rid of a burden or escape a presence or reject a hearing or not see something in front of your face, it's legit. It's annoying. It's in your way. It's dissonant. And it's important to develop the tools to ask, why is it here? So this is a very simple pattern. When you carry trauma, it resonates. It has a resonance, and that resonance can be felt. I'm telling you, you can learn to tune in to that resonance and you can hear it. You can even converse with the resonance itself. The reason I'm telling you this is because as I teach you how to talk to your own higher self, you develop the skill to talk to your trauma. It's the same skill. You cannot engage with your higher self for any length of time or any depth of commitment unless you also at the same time commit to addressing your trauma. And as you begin to address your trauma, you will encounter the part of yourself that experiences life as the vulnerability that was damaged. So at a certain point, you have been violated. Don't show me someone who hasn't. You have been violated in that your natural love and the intention of your creative presence have been thrown off course. Something has jammed into you and insisted that you retune in relation to it. And that is a violation. And the part of you that wanted to create a loving, inspired path and has been jammed off of it is mad. I will say this every week for the next 3 months. Hold me to it. The greatest danger of not healing your trauma is that there is a natural flip. It is no accident that popular culture is beginning to teach us this in new ways. In Stranger Things, there's something called the upside down world. It is an ideal metaphor. It's being given to us on purpose. The upside down world is the flip of this trauma. In Stranger Things, there's a nasty, hurt human creature that's become something more than human, and it feeds on people's trauma. It grips them by the inverse of the energy of their trauma, because until we heal our trauma, sometimes we're in that inverse. I see it in you all. I engage regularly with 40 people through this work, clients, in-depth study of the course, more than 40 at this point. I see your faces. I know you carry these traumas. And when you carry these traumas, there's always a portion of you that's in danger of flipping. No one's beyond this. No one is beyond this. It is a challenge we all face to take responsibility for our trauma and to use the recognition of the rages that can flow through you as a sign you need more help. And this is a formula, people. You sense that you could get too angry, that you could get even vicious. You sense that potential as a warning bell that says, I have more healing work to do. And at that point, you can do two things. One, you can flip into the negative and hurt someone else. Look at how simple this is. You've been victimized. Anyone who's been victimized has the exact pattern of energy of what it feels like to be victimized. You know. And so you can reverse it. It's easy. It's energetically fluid that you get hurt and you hurt someone else. Boom, boom. There's like the path of least resistance. Now, of course, the resistance comes from our love. The initial hit is in violation of love. So you have to let go of your love in order to allow that fluidity to move through you and to hurt someone else. Resist. Resist. You are resisting. I see it in your faces. I know you as the people who do not want to be this. And I tell you, I invite you to realize that the trauma you carry can always flip. It will never change. You can't just wrestle it and get over it. They're two independent processes. You wrestle it because you refuse to be that. But ultimately, you wrestle it, you hold it still, and then you do the work to heal. And that is where plenty of decent, good, loving, honest, wonderful people check out. You don't want to feel that level of pain again. You don't want to be in those raw emotions again. It feels like going backwards. It feels like putting yourself in a position to be violated again. You actually literally may have to feel things that you were able to numb out when they originally occurred. This is a fundamental part of the healing process. Enough enough. That was all a disclaimer. Own it. And that being said, let's step forward. Everything is conscious. You can invest your conscious awareness in any source, anything that can be identified as a thing, which in energetic terms means there's a degree to which there are eddies, spirals of consciousness that form. Even in fluid spaces, there can be a spiral of consciousness. Even in the wave amidst the ocean, you can identify a focal point. You can communicate with any focal point and receive conscious information. I invite you today to embrace an incredible ability. Calm it down. I would guess that at least half of you have been able to consciously engage with other beings in a way that you telepathically hear their voice, recognize their emotion and presence. There is a translator, an energetic translator available within you that will numb your response. So you essentially hear the other voice, but you hear it truncated, as if they have to send you a letter rather than engage you empathically. Now, hey, that seems like a downgrade. Why would you accept that? Because it keeps you very capable of continuing to live. It is almost impossible to live when you walk around consciously blending your consciousness, constantly blending your consciousness with anyone you focus on. And that's how easy it gets, people. You need to know this now, whether or not this is a challenge for you, so you can learn to navigate through it. Intend for the translator. The translator gives you a simple power. It says, ask a question, you'll get an answer. Even if you are not consciously connecting moment to moment, which means I am here and I can consciously ask my sister a question. That doesn't mean she's sitting at work and immediately goes, Dan's asking me a question. Many people engage telepathy as if this is what we're thinking about. Don't. It's a very small subset. And in many ways, it's not superior because that's really annoying. It's really annoying to constantly do these, even with instant messaging and texts. Do you want to have to answer every time you get it? I promise you, we're all in training to be able to say yes and no. We need the delay. And thus, presume that when you intentionally ask a question of another being, you're talking to a form of their consciousness that isn't in time. You're transcending time. Fifth dimensional connections involve fourth dimensional time. Fourth dimensional time means you can go beyond, outside the path. When you understand that time is a dimension in and of itself, the timeline of his story is a path through the dimension of time. You can talk independent of anything in this moment. And it's a gift. It's intended to help us live together in a manner that's effective and functional. It's intended to give us the opportunity to make choices of when and how to connect. It's intended to put people into contact with each other and enable us to connect in ways that are good for both of us. My intensity could be very overwhelming to another being. If I just step in and start connecting with them, that might annihilate whatever they were trying to focus on. That's a violation. It's not intentional. I'm just being me. As you learn, you need to care about this too. And the translator is not just translating modes of thought or languages. It's translating time. It's connecting with them at a time and in a way that is in harmony with their life cycle. And sometimes they say no. Sometimes they say, this is not an encounter I can accept. And effectively, you might be making the investment of energy that enables their consciousness to tell you that. Trust this. And then you can trust you. Here's how simple it is. I would like to ask my higher self a question. My higher self said, keep going. I asked my higher self, am I on the right track in how I'm communicating this? Now my higher self responds, I am engaging with you in an ongoing flow. As long as you continue to trust the flow, you will be in harmony with what you have to share today. Now I know these, but I want you to recognize how I'm doing it so you can begin to consider it. Because energy that is felt can also be heard, can also be seen. Energy that is felt can also be heard or it can be seen. And when you focus on it as a feeling, it enhances the intensity of the feeling. When you focus on it as a visual, it enhances the presence of the visual. There's more. As I give to you the information and insight that is in tune with my higher self, I embody it more presently. I become more of the vibration of that. So it's a choice to change yourself. You can't talk to your higher self without becoming someone different. In the same way, you can't talk to an angel without becoming something anew. It is a rebirth that involves passing beyond what you've known as normal. And that's why you have to take responsibility for it. Angels aren't here just to wipe away all our problems. I promise you. They invite us into a healthy space that we may not be able to envision immediately. So the fundamental trust to transcend through the confusions that arise from learning to communicate in this way is essential. Because you step in a little and then you run back out, you might generate fears that are not necessary. There's more. We have work to do. It's more difficult now than it will be in 20 years to do this. You are here. You are here. You alone knows why you're here. If you let me, I can look and give you insight. But until you ask, I don't look. The discipline it takes me to give you readings in this manner is something that took me a long time to develop. And I am praying that it will take you much less time to develop something similar. It is challenging to restrain your curiosity as you awaken this level of power. 23 years ago, I burst open my crown, enabling me to connect in these ways. My father came to get me because one of my dearest friends was very overwhelmed and actually called my parents. It still hurts to remember. And as soon as he arrived, I felt safe like a kid again. And I bubbled with how excited I was to be able to ask any question and get an answer. And that began several years of haphazard, obsessive compulsive questioning, asking questions of everything. I talked to the dog food box and asked it if it was really the healthiest food for my dog. It was so exciting to realize that I could just ask questions of anything. Gradually, I recognized what was happening. I was imbuing consciousness on a level that it would be more effective to ask a question in a less complex way. Basically, don't talk to things as if they are the response. Talk through your higher self and ask your higher self if that is real. But until you do that, you can live a life where you're essentially walking around talking to the doorknobs. And it works because you are passing consciousness to the doorknob and it's coming back to you. If this is confusing, let it be. You can listen to this again. This is charting a path through the kinds of confusions that land many people in years of drugged out stupors, even institutionalization. I promise you, the life I live now, far superior to anything I've known before. There is a focus to love itself in practice with the chakras and a yogic routine that can enable you to stay centered on a level that is just phenomenal. Essentially, the same mechanisms that feel like a poison, feel like psychosis, are actually part of misinterpreting deeper gifts. Deeper gifts. And they come together. If you say no to getting constant chatter in your head, you are saying no to opening your third eye. You don't want to say no to the chatter. You want to learn to channel your awareness. Okay, it's ready. I keep checking in. It's enough. We've been charting a path in communion with Thoth's fire school. This is not my school, or it is my school as much as it is other people's school too. I play a rare role. It's pretty cool. I like it. No one else needs to play the role I play. I know how to tune to this. And once I tune to this, you can tune to me, which you do by listening. Again, she says, don't speak my name. Hold it. Because it's important that I not over-individuate. I'm tuning into the consciousness, and it's a nexus of beings, and it's important for the fluidity and my ability to translate to you that this is a bridge between different relationships to time. If I stop to interpret the change in identity of the beings that I connect with in order to pass them on to you, I will essentially break the connection. I will lose the pace that enables this to occur. I have to surrender to connecting blind of who speaks through. It's like Abraham being introduced as an individual only to later understand it's a collective. We have work to do. You are an individual nexus. You affect those around you in a manner that they will understand less in the future. As you pass through the fear that this is the wrong way, you will learn to find a center that is much easier to trust. There is no shame in considering that this is the wrong way. It is wise to question on this level, but keep questioning and be present with the answers. You have within you the power to make this choice yourself. Speak to the school. This is not through Daniel. You can do it yourself. And if you keep returning to this school, you will receive increasing levels of support that will reach you in the ways that are best for you. When you panic, turn it to feeling. When you are curious, turn it to words. When it's too much, turn it to vision. When it doesn't expose, return to breath. As you return to breath, reclaim your feeling. It is a simple cycle. Remember it. We have a gift for you. You are cherished here in a way that you cannot understand until you receive it for a time. We are reaching to you in ways that you can feel. In learning to feel and breathe with the feelings, you are essentially accepting our embrace. Our embrace grants you connection. The connection enables you to retune and challenges you to stay in tune. You do not need to understand more than this for it to work. When you lose the cycle, return to your heart. Breathe with your heart and reclaim the cycle. Now, listen. That's to me. There is no other way to give them this information other than to pass it through in this manner. You need to go faster in order to prevent yourself from asking too many questions along the way. I invite you to recognize that there are fewer ways to ruin it in the future. Now you are in a more fragile time. Not all of you, but many. The fragility of the connection is something that you have the opportunity to change. You need to care about yourself more, not in a manner that is selfish, in a negative interpretation of this, but in a manner that is conscious. You keep your vehicle working in order to drive. You keep yourself working well in order to live. As you live, you will naturally gravitate to acts of service. But it is important not to misunderstand what these acts of service represent. True service is not a palliative. It does not make people feel better in the face of their challenges. It helps them through their challenges. When someone is in the cold, they may have the instinct to freeze and stay still. But if they stay still, they will not move their muscles, which will not move their blood, which will decrease their warmth, which will freeze them. There are times when you need to push people in order to get them to continue in the face of a danger of staying still. If you do not know how to recognize the difference, learn how to recognize it within yourself. You, in many cases, may be choosing to stall. It is not the right time to do so. Now, listen. You forced an issue that was not relevant. Let it go. That is the pattern of this. You will witness your mind interjecting into your connection with your higher self. Allow higher to change in its meaning. Higher represents a vibrational space that you are unaccustomed to being present within. Higher vibrations are not intrinsically better. They are better in this world because you have lived in relationship to them. You have lived beneath the frequencies. The frequencies themselves are simply longer vibrational waves. Shorter waves are considered higher. They could contain the negative presence of your traumas, but they don't. That is how the human being has been designed. Human beings were designed in order to embrace themselves. Embrace themselves slowly. You were designed to be given the opportunity to transform yourself. And in order to transform yourself, you were ushered into a new way of being. And as you embody in a new way of being, you create a new focus. And as you trust this focus, you can re-engage the presence of your past and change it. It is the focus of yourself as you know yourself that enables you to engage the self you were. You lead who you were into a new way. And you cannot do this if you must confront everything about you all at once. It wouldn't be possible. To get good at it, you need to be able to let go. Because as you engage elements of your past, and in this I refer to the presence of yourself from lifetimes beyond this one, as you engage the presence of your past, you know what it is to feel this way. You understand yourself as that. And you must be able to embody this memory and move through it to change it, passing through boundaries that were once walls, passing through boundaries that were once who you knew yourself to be. I tell you this as a beginning, as a new beginning. Trust that you can make the choice to become something beyond this challenge. It is work. It is work to clean up your own mess, and it can be joyful. By accepting the boundaries as they are, you live within a healthy space. And if it is not healthy, you make it healthy. This is step one. As you build your strength to the point where you are capable of taking on greater challenges, you will be presented with those challenges by your own spirit. The spiritual awareness that transcends lifetimes, what you may know of as your higher self, is present in a way that recognizes the pace. Don't attempt to take ownership of the pace. It is not up to you. As you feel the desire to transcend, to reach, to grow, as you feel the passion to know yourself beyond this life and to embrace it and take it into who you are now and change it into something beyond this, be with it, feel it, fuel it, and at the same time, recognize the limits. There will be a sense within you of when it's time to slow. And if you don't see it at first, life may present it to you. Your phone will break. Someone will call you, interrupting your process. It is part of the dance of growing to engage these challenges and consider, is this a healthy reminder to slow down? Or is it something I need to say no to? Sometimes you will be presented with an interruption that is a call to maintain a commitment that is now time to say no to. If you want an easier path, look elsewhere. You must navigate between these challenges. Sometimes you trust that your phone broke to slow you down. Sometimes you trust that that call happened now because you are accustomed to surrendering your truth for whoever calls you, for the commitment that they ask you to maintain, for the pressure they put upon you. Feel it. Over time, you will learn to feel the presence of a pressure before the call arrives. Know this as a teaching and learn to say no. How do you know how? You practice. You pay attention. You watch yourself. You sense the changes and witness, did that work? If it did not, you will receive another opportunity soon. Listen. You're not aware of why they left. Let it be true. I've been sad that a group of folks left. I felt like a failure. This is me. Okay, she wants you to witness my dialogue now. So I've been sad. I feel people arrive. I embrace as best I can. I sense the responsibility to welcome, to nurture, to shepherd you in to this school, to the community that we create. And I felt a group leave together, and it made me sad. So I'm going to ask her why. Oh. She said they were bombing another team with an inappropriate level of violence. They were not ready to maintain the responsibility for being present here. Their aggression needs more healing in a manner that we are not suited for. They will receive the opportunity to return after they do more work. You didn't fail. Well, that was clear. They were in many cases men who had chosen to commit their violence to the best cause they could find, but they had not chosen to dig deep enough to transcend the forms of violence that they were living within. Their violence was designed to continue to inhibit their own ability to feel pain. And thus, even though they correctly identified a healthy cause to champion, their act of will was still in a misguided service to their own desire to avoid their feelings. This is not a gift to us, and thus they were refused. Okay. And then she just said, "You are not the admissions committee," to me. It's enough. Hey, that was deep. She says, "I'll be able to connect with her again in a little bit." Feels great. It feels great to maintain that connection. I didn't have to go back and forth as much. Gets me into a higher vibe, and I get to stay in it. There's just such a clarity. I'm going to say hi to you guys, give a little practical information, and then do some cute questions that I can give to her. Minty, good to see you. Good morning. Christina, Sarah, Misty, Christopher. It's great to have you all here. Marissa, I'm so glad to have you here. Really was. It's funny, I kept skeptic mind or doubt mind just kept coming up with questions, and she was more than I said. The listens were for me. Like, that's why I was pointing at myself, and I was like trying to like assert my consciousness and to ask these questions, and she's like, "You're just let it flow." So yeah, the connection was able to last longer in that way because of it. I'm really excited right now. I designed courses. I was given these courses years ago, 8 years ago, the first time I taught them. And yet they're changing dramatically as I translate them for the web. I'm almost done recording the final lesson of the second course. I tried again to record the last piece yesterday. It didn't come through. So it's really sacred, and that there's probably something that I haven't quite grasped yet that needs to be included, but it's almost done. And it's making so much more sense than ever. Right now, if you want, you can start the first course and have time to finish the first and second course by the time we engage the third course. My sense right now is we're going to engage the third course in September. I need time to prepare it. It's going to be much more because it's a teacher training. The third and fourth course are going to represent a teacher training that will train you to teach yoga and to offer one-on-one sessions using this work. I can't even tell you. It's my life's joy to pass this on, and to know that it's this close to being able to pass on to others, and that we've developed the strength and presence together to make this possible. If you have any interest, get on board now. Now, you could get on board in a month and still do it, but if you want to be a pioneer in it, if you want to be in the first wave, now's sort of the last chance. There are several folks almost done with the second course who are helping me create it as we go. So we're going to be working over these next months to formulate it with more intentionality, because there's an added level of challenge in how do we do teacher trainings from afar. I do think there's going to have to be a time to gather people. But the challenge to do this from afar, I think, makes it better. When I have to think through how can this information be framed as clearly as possible to communicate it in a way that will last, that will empower you, that will put you in a position to work with others, that will create study groups. It's a challenge to focus it and clarify it on a level it's my greatest joy. I come from teachers. My parents are both professors. My father teaches teachers. I love learning. I was raised with their incredible questions. They were great teachers. They knew how to ask me questions that were designed to keep me thinking, that were teach me how to question life in a way that maintained fascination and the beauty of learning. And everything that I've done with my life has been the extension of this. I can still remember my father sitting with me, and he'd put his hand on my shoulder and say, "You can do anything you want as long as you love it." And this is what I love the most. So if you want to join, consider now. If you have any thoughts about it, step into the Wildflowerfire space. We can talk more. I prefer to have as many of those conversations in a public conversation so other people can witness it, so you can ask questions that other people can get the answers to. So I do encourage you. It's wonderful. As I have put this in a form to be taught, my own practices are going through the roof. And so, I'm increasingly centering on 1 hour practices. I used to do multiple practices more than 2 hours. And it was my goal to do 3 2-hour practices a week. And I'm increasingly realizing I don't think that's the best way. I think it's inefficient. And what gets accomplished in that second hour isn't as crucial. So what we're going for is to teach you to be great at 1 hour practices that are integrating mind, body, and spirit through chakra yoga. And as you do that, you unveil a really deep ability to channel the psychic connections you have in life. The principle here is that all psychic connections are energetic. They're energetic attunement. You learn to tune to other energies. So when you tune in, it's like a radio station. If you don't understand your power in that, you could get trapped, stuck, connected with sources that you would not like to be connected to. In order to be able to change the channel, you have to own your own power. And one of the best ways to own your power is how you meditate with your body, because then you're generating energies that change your attunement. So you generate health, and that's the way you stay with this wild flowing fire inside yourself. And you don't protect yourself from negative energies. You leave the worlds in which they exist. Word. By the way, thank you for the likes. I appreciate them. It helps. It's exciting to gather strength. In fact, we are working on building the shorts feed. And in general, if you can commit to watching the shorts in particular and clicking like, it actually makes a difference. And me saying this is, I think, an act of will to say, yes, I want this to spread. No, don't listen to my concern. Part of me stays low. Like, I don't want to shine too bright. Don't want to deal with the attention, blah, blah, blah. Don't listen to it. I want this to work more. I want this to shine out more. I want to reach. And part of that is a request to you. Can you help? Can you commit to watching the basic videos that we release, clicking like, watch it through? Because when YouTube knows that 30 people watch the whole video and like it, it goes to 500. So please be a part of that. And it's a simple way to serve that helps. I'm going to focus myself and prepare for Q&A with the Wildflowerfire School. I connect with one teacher first. She's my link. And I will ask her questions, and the answers may come from other elements of this collective. And as I believe I communicated, it's important not to measure that too much as we go. All right. Any questions? All right. She wants me to tell you something first that I don't necessarily want to tell you, but I was stuck. I've been stuck in a particular way. A part of my consciousness is still checked out of my healthiest cycle and gone into a vulnerable space where I wanted to be protected. And it has fundamentally sabotaged me being more effective. in essence, I didn't want to be more effective because I still would end up in this space of feeling vulnerable. And I'm ready to transcend that. I've become the person that doesn't need that kind of safety anymore. So I left someone in particular who's been protective in that way. And I'm really grateful. Thank you for honoring me. Thank you for taking care of me and helping to protect this part of myself that I wasn't able to fully heal. And I need to leave this sharing. It isn't right now. And I'm ready to hold a deeper space. And I invite you into it as you are ready. All right. So if there are no questions, I'll just go back to her and see. Oh. So for whatever reason she wants me to share, my experience is that there are several layers of our awareness. And so there's a layer on which elements of our higher selves, us, people who tune in together here, know more than we remember. So right now we're engaged in this computer timeline, having built something together already, and we know much more about each other than we retain. It's important to recognize that what we're doing is bridging the gap into a space of collective trust that we've already created. In that space, we aren't omnipotent. We aren't perfect. We still retain a reflection of the wounds that we haven't healed. And one of mine is I haven't fully known how to say no. So the vulnerable part of myself has been, it's like if you put a spotlight on me energetically, sometimes I freeze and I lose a sense of where I was. And I just sense that. It's part of living in a personality that was, I was built with childhood trauma. So I know how to sort of like get stuck in that traumatized space and not be able to say no. Part of a healthy spiritual practice is to practice what we really want. So part of healing, part of the last phase of healing, a traumatized level of baggage. Part of being seamless is I'm like, I asked people to click like and only one person clicked like. Fuck you all. Part of the trauma, part of the last phase of healing trauma is to recognize the part of your personality that is still functioning as if you're traumatized when you're really well. One of the most crucial ways to do that is to practice. I know this is a challenge for me. So I get into the purity of my life. I get into a healthy spiritual practice. I deal with my problems. And then I remember getting stuck in the wrong space, acting sort of victim-y. And I say no. I practice saying no to a connection that isn't healthy for me. And it's my responsibility to do this, just as it is yours. And my lesson in this is it's more like I'm being put in front of the class to show you how this works in this moment. Sometimes I'm your teacher, and sometimes I am the student teacher for this teacher who speaks through me, who I assure you can learn to speak to directly. And she's encouraging you to recognize that as you take responsibility for all these ways in which you embody things you don't want to be, what you do is you practice. You do your spiritual practice. You do your yogic chakra practice. And then at the end of that practice, you focus and you purposefully remember the mistakes you make. And you say, the next time I'm challenged with that connection, I want to graciously say no. The next time I'm challenged with that pressure, I want to remember, put back together in the presence of that intensity, the person I choose to be. And I choose to be someone who does not need to be protected in some of the ways I need to be. I choose to be the person who gives my own 7-year-old a hug when I still end up there and say, hey, dude, we don't need that. We're ready. And I invite you to consider this yourself. In fact, it's the weekly witness question. In what ways do you continue to end up in patterns that you can take more responsibility for? So you can practice remembering yourself and putting yourself into a vision of behaving in a different way. You see yourself saying no thank you to a pattern that's been coming again and again and again. And you say, no thank you, that's not who I choose to be. You take responsibility for that rather than saying, it was awful. They just pushed me and I didn't feel comfortable. Say no. Say no now. Say no now so you never magnetize such things. Ooh, some of you don't like that. You have to choose who you want to be. And sometimes not making a choice is a choice in and of itself. It's enough. All right. Any questions? Well, there's no questions for her, but you can ask me questions too. Okay, so there are two courses, Trevor. One is Sacred Creatures. It introduces a basic yogic practice that's 20 minutes long. You do it in a bunch of different ways. And the purpose of doing it in different ways is to show you the freedom to engage in the same practice in different ways. You do it with intensity, you do it with focus, you do it emphasizing strength, you do it emphasizing stillness, you do it emphasizing breathing. Then you move through it with breathing exercises added. So you add another layer. As we add these different approaches, we're engaging with you to learn. You're learning how to feel. You're learning how to discern feelings. And one of the funnier ways I could say this is like, if you're learning to hit on someone, you could go up to them and grab them in a subtle place, in a place that you would never just grab them. That's the way it is with your spirit in a way. You need to edge in on your spiritual connection. You need to learn to see from this way and learn to see from this way. Be humble about interpreting your connection to yourself. Treat yourself with grace and care. Don't rush at. And that's what the course is designed to do, to present you with many different ways to begin to tune into yourself so you can carefully and consciously learn to fall in love with you. And this is a really simple and beautiful thing. It's childlike in a lot of ways. But to engage that consciously changes your relationship to life. You learn to kind of let go of a sense of who you've been and tune into a recognition that you know so much more about yourself than you think. Through your chakras are communicating so much information that you can learn to make normal, learn to honor your gut instincts, learn to feel burdens on your shoulders, and prioritize changing the nature of your commitments, and many more layers. The second course, so these are both done and ready for you. The second course is called the Spiritual Roots. It's all about taking it to the next level. So you learn to embody hour-long practices at least once a week, and you can do more. You do those hour-long practices, and you're effectively taking your intensity up a substantial level. And I found that this is an important shift. Adding 20 minutes 3 times a week to your life, fundamental level. Then you take it to the next level, you add these hour-long practices, and you're essentially turning up the volume. You turn up the volume and you get stronger. And this is designed to make you strong enough to handle a whole new layer of challenge and to take on the strongest challenges in your life. So it's a very different focus. The purpose of the second course is to make you more resilient and prepare you for the whole world that's available beyond that. These courses are both there. It's cheaper if you buy them both together. And honestly, I think they're going to be a lot more work and time and money in the future. It's a really good time to engage them now because there are just so many layers that we can explore together. And I really, really want to design some of this with you. So you talk to us about what's working best for you as we go along. We'll add more layers in the future. It'll be $1,000 a piece or something. All right. I see I see all caps. As a volley group, are we brought together to trigger our karmas? So volley, for those of you who don't know, is the wildflower fire space. Yes, and absolutely not. So this is me first before I channel the answer. I know this. Garbage in, garbage out. It's how we frame the question. As a group, we are intentionally creating a compost pile together. Part of the etiquette is to learn to bring our compost to the right place. Part of doing that is to work with the practices together. So when you commit to a practice, you're channeling your energy consciously. And as you channel your energy consciously, the function of this pattern composts together. So we're mixing our karma, and we're here to support each other through the karma. And that means your presence itself is an active investment in each other. And you receive the benefits of supporting each other. And it is beautiful to us to witness. It is beautiful to us. This is a great and exciting time of celebration. The veils are thin enough that we can be present with you in a way that you can see and feel. We know how close you are to embracing this, even though you continue to retain the patterns of the past that don't necessarily recognize it. We celebrate every day in connection and communion with you, and you would not be here if you had not felt our connection already. We're here to usher you into a much more beautiful life and to teach you how to use this trust in service to those around you. We will always help you to take the greatest steps available to you. Your trust is a deep gift to us. That's it. All. How important is fasting? All right, she's making me answer this. It's very important. Uh, being able to change your patterns on such a fundamental is huge. I encourage you to commit to being comfortable fasting for a day, one day. Don't fast for a day more than once a week. Don't press yourself to fast more than once a month, perhaps, for a day. That's a very good basic place to begin. What it does is it changes the fundamental nature of your relationship to yourself, and it allows your systems to have a much greater amount of energy available to help you focus on what you need to focus on. So essentially, you don't eat for a day, and if you this is me answering, it's not channeled, but I'm like tuning in to like frame it clearly. When you're not used to fasting and you fast for one day, you have a whole day available with a very different focus on yourself. So what stands out during that time really matters. So it's essentially showing you where your work can most effectively create changes in your life. And this is often going to expose you to things that this is not what you thought you had to work on. And that's great. Because when your spirit shows you what to focus on and it was not on your radar, oh my goodness, that means you're going to get this out of the way. You're being exposed to baggage that you've been carrying all the time, and you're putting it down. Oh, everything else gets easier. And then you can return to the challenges you know you have, and they're going to make a lot more sense. So I encourage you to think in terms of 1 day, 3 days, 5 days. Those are great thresholds until you're happy fasting, until you want it, not with your mind, but like you're comfortable enough with 1 day fasting that you want it, that you kind of miss it. Don't push for more. And if you want to do more than one, talk to me. I'm not going to encourage anyone to go out on your own and do more than one until you communicate. And I really think it would be healthy for us to create an ongoing conversation in the Wildflowerfire space about this. Okay. What's the difference between trauma, pattern, So, Sarah, what she's saying is let them go. That's her actual response to you. That you are hung up because you are staying in harmony with people who are out of harmony with you. And your actual point of getting stuck is there. You need to let go of them to focus on you and trust that they have to make their own choices. You don't get a promise of what they'll do. In fact, you need to give them space to make their own choices. But I will tell you this, their higher selves are helping you be you already. You need to trust that there is a deeper spiritual connection that you can't witness yet, that is part of this process. And the love is already reaching them. It's not up to you what they do. On a more practical level, the only way to learn to tell the difference between patterns that need your attention and patterns that need to be told no within your experience is to do it. You experiment and you pay close attention to the results. This is a difference between depth perception. Ultimately, you will have a very clear awareness of whether or not something is an interruption that you need better boundaries with, or an element within yourself that needs to be healed. The differences are clear. You can't tell the difference in flavor until you explore. If you say no to a trauma that you need to heal, it will simply return. If you don't say no to a commitment you've made to other beings, to a focus of your attention that has been a habitual part of your realm, then it will simply return. So they both return, but the trauma won't go just when you tell it no. If you firmly say no to things that are not part of you, they will leave. No. She's suggesting you fast with the moon. She's suggesting we consider seasonal fasts in relation to the moon. New moon is a central time to fast. Full moon is a wonderful time to feast. It is this simple. There's something more that I'm avoiding passing on. Okay, so she's focusing me on some people from my past. I just don't let go. Like I've just she's encouraging me to I essentially propped people up because I wanted company. A certain range of people when I was changing, and I was changing so much, and I was so far from my family and what I'd known that I was taking any shred of connection that folks gave me, and I was like holding it really tightly. And I still look to them. It's a very specific group of people, and I still look to them with hopes of kind of like redeeming them and that they'll be able to join. And they made their choices long ago, is what she's telling me. Let them go. They're not people who are in my life. I don't encourage you to use this as a metaphor for you. It was specific to me. It was specific to coming, awakening, and turn of the millennia. I mean, I was waking up hardcore 1999. She's inviting you all not to get caught up in this concern. It's really unique to the time, the form of connection I made with them, and that I need to not project that on you guys or it would get in the way. That's enough. Cool. All right. I think that might be, no, there's another question. Yes, ask it. So somebody's got a question that's valuable. Just ask it. Okay, so I made a link when I remembered those friends. This is an example that's valuable. In the teacher training course, I'm going to teach you guys about this. And if you know that you get the shakes, you need to commit to a course like this unless you find something else that could help you. As soon as you make a conscious psychic connection with another source, the vibes flow. And the more powerful you get, the more competent you get at making these connections, the more easily they flow, which means you run the risk of making connections you don't want to retain. I do this every day. So in remembering my friends from the past, I made a connection here. It reflects the latent hope I've held to connect to them again, but I can feel that it's out of tune. And one of the gifts of working with energies in this way, I tune in. It's enough. And I disengage, and my mind knows, don't make that again. So, Joshua, your brain is not hyperactive. Don't think of it as your brain. That's the first thing. You're not thinking with your brain. You're thinking with your whole body, which includes all your chakras. Your chakras are doing the thinking. Your brain will imprint the neurology of the patterns that are most common to you. The way to change it is to focus on new patterns that are healthier. Pattern interruption is challenging, but it's more accessible than you might think. So the yoga is critical. The point here is that you change physical patterns. You change patterns with your physical body, and you're generating a new energy. Your brain can keep reflecting the same pattern, like the neurology is trying to run through the old cycles, but you need to give it less primary responsibility for what's going on. Basically, even if you can't stop hearing it chatter, keep moving your body. That's one of the points of a yogic practice. And having some memorization involved gives your brain a focal point. So memorizing the basic patterns in the first course is really valuable because it gives you, like, you draw your mind back there. You draw your mind back. Now, I'm real big on, we don't want to be any more brutal than we need to be. So shift yourself with some grace. It gets too frustrating, put it down, come back to it, and take this manageable challenge of 20 minutes first. What you're doing is you're rewriting your neurology. Within 3 weeks of doing this, it's easier. Then we begin to bring in addressing trauma with the 4th week. So just being aware that as you get healthier, it's going to bring up traumatic energies, just latent baggage from your past. And by the 6th week, we start to get to meditation. So basically, meditation is like a foundation of changing your life, but it's really important to meditate with your body some first to take out physical stress so it doesn't distract you while you sit. But also, there are layers to your own healing process, which it can be a little counterproductive to force yourself to sit still. Now, there are plenty of spiritual practices that do force you through those changes. I just don't think it's necessary. It can be more healthy to focus in other places first, get down a foundation of a simple 20-minute physical practice, calm it. And that being said, there are 3 levels of meditation I encourage you to think about: 5-minute, 20-minute, hour. 5 minutes is brilliant. In 5 minutes, you can tune in to a space where you want to stay. If you don't want to stay after 5 minutes of meditation, forcing yourself to 20 minutes doesn't make much sense. By 5 minutes, you should be able to tap into something that's like you're drinking. Like, it like feels good. You still might be sore, your brain might still be chattering, but you can feel that beauty. If you can't feel that beauty yet, I find it more effective to focus on the physical practice until you learn to tune into feeling more. And then you'll tune in meditation to the feeling of that depth of vibrancy, which I assure you is there for you. It's not somewhere else. It's there for you. But you have to learn to feel it. And as you learn to feel it, you tap into it, and that keeps you wanting to stay and do more. As long as your brain's chattering, focus on the yoga for a while. That's it. I shook. So I tuned in to the resonance in my shoulder, and I shook it. And that's why I moved back and shook it. And when your mind is capable of surrendering to the changes enough, you get permission to change things through shaking. And that's a huge element of the third course, is how to do it well. Yes. Yes. Next week, they'll talk about it more. I think I need to acknowledge, like, that was a lot for me, and I need to not keep pushing for more. That was about my limit, and they're encouraging me to realize. Sometimes I don't realize my limits until I ask. So yes, there's a lot more there on who they are and what they want us to do. Here's the foundation. Thoth founded a mystery school. It's been present for all of human history. This is one link to it, like a chapter of it. They're in service to him, and they're in service to the Christ consciousness of this earth. This is not some random, you're not getting kidnapped by a strange, obscure force. They're in service to the Christ consciousness of this earth, to Gaia herself. And you wouldn't be here if there wasn't a significant part of you that's in tune. So by all means, consider the depth of your investment, which you measure by whether or not you do the practices, whether or not you keep doing the practices. That's how you stay in tune or leave. Don't stay in the middle too much. It could be confusing. All right. I'm going to take a little break and come back. I think I can do this as long as it's for me. So that's not a small question, Jess. I'll say this. And I was encouraged. I went on a little walk this morning, and I was encouraged to reinforce cannabis in particular is very healthy in many cases. There is a commitment to this is all part of Gaia. Gaia grows things for a reason. Simple division. I put far more trust in natural substances than in synthetic ones. Natural substances are here for a reason, particularly in healing cycles. So you essentially make a commitment to work with those plants for the healing cycle. They give you permission in a way to embody a greater level of exploration, but it's stunted. You're always going to go back. The substance is always going to wear out. So it's a very specific experience of these things. That can be phenomenal. It exposes you to stuff and then pulls you back, regrounds you. That can be terrible. You wander all over the place and get too much in your head. So understand you will probably never be your best in constant commitment to a substance in this form. You may well find your best with the help of such substances. If you have lingering visions from old experiences, you have to ask yourself very simply, is that a vision? It's the same question Sarah asked in a way, same model. Is that a vision that's calling your attention because you were using it to distract you from something else? Because if that's the case, it's not really the problem. The problem is, on plant medicine, you spiritually bypassed. You went and you grabbed something really exciting and vibrant to help you avoid your pain, to help you avoid your earthly trauma. So the way to change that is to stare at it and be really honest. You just ask the question, is this vision, what was I bypassing? Was I bypassing when I held that vision? And then I promise you the trauma will be right there. It'll say hi. It'll show you what it is. The only reason it might not be easy is because you don't want it to be easy. So there's work to do. Or Are you remembering a vision from your past that you experienced on the extreme of a plant medicine? Because it's a teaching that you haven't fully integrated and is still useful to you. Plenty of beautiful teachings come with the help of these substances, but I promise you the same teachings could come to you in a different way. There's no shame in experiencing them that way. None. But just don't fool yourself into thinking that that's the only way to get there. Now, you'd have a very different experience, but you will get the essence that you need. You will get it if you do the work. Okay. I'm going to take a little break. I'll be back for readings. Yesterday, I got a package from Kinsey. Kinsey made an incredible package for my kids. She didn't tell me it was coming, and it had tie-dye t-shirts for them. I pulled out the tie-dye t-shirt for my daughter, and she goes, colors, colors. She's not even 2 yet. She was bonkers. Like, she loved it. And my son came home and he got jealous. She's like, where did she get that? I'm like, you've got 2. And he gets them. They both put them on. They were batshit crazy for 2 hours, running around the house like, and my daughter, when I tried to get her in pajamas, she's like, no, colors. She wouldn't take the shirt off. She kept it, and that she brought it to me in the morning, and she brought my son's shirt to him. She brought his shirt to him to put on in the morning to change out of their pajamas because she loved it so much. It was beautiful. Thank you, Kinsey. It was adorable as hell. I have a song for you. You play with me, you play with fire. My readings are strong today. I always want the best for you. I want love suffused through your life, flowing through your mind. And the power of this is like a river flowing through a stream bed. It cleanses you. It brings up the things you don't want to be with. And this is spiritual flowing fire. This is not just a stream bed of water. As the pranic power of wild flowing fire reaches your traumas, it imbues them with strength. It brings them to life like zombies. You have to feel them. And the purpose of this feeling is so you can embody it and let it go. Grieve what hasn't been grieved. Leave what you need to leave. If you pause the process and go, oh, this sucks. People are so mean. Could hurt more. So let yourself feel that. People can be so mean. Move through it. When I see you, I see what's possible. I believe in you in the best ways I know how. And I'm far. I'm far physically. We are far physically. So be the strength that builds this commitment with each other. So we're strong enough to support each other and keep you moving through whatever wakes up. Who's ready? All right. Ryan. Whew. Dude, your mind. You've learned to shift your mind. You've learned to let go of something that you were holding, like a filter, like an interpretation that you were seeing reality through. It's like you were seeing reality through a lens, rose-colored glasses, or whatever. Not all positive, but you were seeing it through something that you let go. Woo! Good job. Huh. Nice job, man. This is strong, clear, present. That took work. I haven't seen this in you since you showed up. First time I've seen it. You really transcended something. I'd love you to hop on Volley and tell us about it. I imagine this is you're aware. If you're not aware, become aware. This is possible. This is beautiful. I see a happiness in your future. I see this calming down. There's no rush. Let it come down slowly. We're saying, God almighty, like months, dude. Months. You've changed such a depth. Don't try to slow it down too much. It would mess the momentum, but you don't need to press. You don't need to throw logs on this fire. Good, good. Just navel. Okay, navel. You can focus on your navel. Now the navel is before the third eye in the cycle. So you cleanse your navel and you're setting your mind up to think clearly. But right now your navel, core work. I can't tell you enough. Like I now do the core yoga practice 3 times a week. Now I often add to it, but just doing that core work, it processes your power. It burns through unnecessary energy in you. And that's where you could accomplish the most, Ryan. It's a foundation for the second course. Just so you know, you are welcome. You're in there. It's enough. Work on your core. Don't even worry about figuring things out with your mind until August. Just build that power. Your mind it's beautiful. You need to celebrate what you've done. It's really good. Congratulations. It's really good. It's really good, man. I see a beauty through you that it helps me know myself. Okay. Joshua. Macadamia nuts don't sit well with me. Okay, don't eat them. I don't think you need to. So the first thing I think you need to know is you don't need to copy me. You have your own unique path. I do my best to teach people how to tune into yourself. There's a reason I call this wild. The wildness here it can be a little more challenging for me, but it's easier in other ways. I am not teaching you to copy me. I am teaching you some basic processes that I was taught that helped me tune into myself. So at a certain point, people leave. People leave and come back to this work, because it can be really valuable to take the core lessons of how to tune in and listen to yourself, and then leave me, even us, and tune into yourself when you need to. And you'll know when you need to do that. But I think you need to know that now, Joshua, before you commit to going deeper, that I'm not trying to trap you to be my permanent protege or my little copycat. I want you to be you. I get no pleasure out of people kissing my ass and repeating everything I say. I get pleasure out of helping people be themselves by being a wildflower. I don't want to be a garden of 1,000 daisies. I want daisies and violets and all sorts. Roses and irises and tulips. All sorts of flowers that we don't know the names for. I love wildflowers. I love wild flowing people. I love supporting you and dancing together. You need to know that, Joshua. Now, your heart. Your heart is a little frozen. It looks like you've been through a lot of change. You calm down your own anger. The problem is your anger shows you needs that aren't getting met still. And it's not that far away. The challenge is to let anger be a little warning bell going ding, 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 ding. Something isn't working. I find that the mental thought forms that often go with anger are often inaccurate. You don't let anger drive, but you do let anger stop. You do let anger push pause, say you need to take a walk, take space, tune in, what needs aren't getting met, and how can you get those needs met in a way that's healthy? It doesn't seem to me that you're asking this question. It seems to me that you're feeling the anger and you're just shutting it down, and it's a wrestling match in your heart. Your heart looks tired, man. Like it would be a lot of work. I encourage you to focus on that as a core theme for right now. You want to remember when you feel volatile emotions inside yourself, take some space, take care of yourself, create the opportunity to tune in and ask, is there a healthy way you can respond to those needs that isn't volatile, that doesn't get you yelling at people you love or resenting them? How can you take ownership of your needs and find the healthiest ways to get them met? Period. Chris. Oh, beautiful. So it looks to me like you're going through a change in your third eye, where you've had memories that felt solid, and you're learning to realize that you just took a snapshot and you were holding snapshots of very complicated times. You could go back and hold a different understanding. It looks to me like you're learning this and you're doing it. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's really sacred work. And I encourage you to do it with some care. Don't rush through this. You can find a healthier way to remember your past. Celebrate that you're making this change now. It's really beautiful. And tune it with your heart. One of the best ways to choose how to remember the past is it in tune with your heart or not? If it's not in tune with your heart, there's a problem. It's not the best way to remember things. Our memories are not solid. People think you can't change the past. You can change the past because your idea of what the past is just a very, very, very particular perception of the past. Choose a different perception. How do you find that? When is your third eye and your heart in tune? This is a discipline. It's simple, but it's a discipline. When you recognize that your memories are starting to melt, you're starting to remember things you forgot. You're starting to see things in different ways. Now filter which memories. Sometimes people go for the most vibrant, because vibrancy is exciting. But don't just go for vibrancy. Go for vibrancy in tune with your heart. How do you know? When you're thinking about anything, can you feel your heart? That's it. If you could breathe deeply into your heart and have it sort of spring to life, that's a healthy memory to work with. If you can't, that's a healthy memory to dissolve by breathing with your heart. You need this discipline. Focus on it. Period. Jess. Your Melchizedek connections one within yourself. So this is ancient Jewish mystic. You have a connection to ancient Jewish mysticism, and it won in the chaos of your choices. It's healthy. I trust it. I was introduced to this work through Dronvalo Melchizedek's books, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, where the 12 chakras were shared. So this is something I trust. So what? You get caught in an anger. You're going too deep into creature consciousness, and you need to commit to the sacred creatures. I would encourage you to consider taking sacred creatures. The point here is to balance the creature, the human, and the angelic elements of ourself. You are getting caught in creature, and it's out of balance. And when you get caught in creatures, creatures are pissed. Creatures are pissed at human beings, very legitimately angry. And it's hard not to love their presence, because they protect the earth. They envision with legitimate hatred how we treat the earth. But you can't get lost there. And it looks to me like you have the potential to get lost there. And that's why you are making progress and shutting yourself down, because you're magnetizing too heavily into these places. Look, the earth is like, the oceans are like the heart of the earth. The body lets go of toxins into the blood to be taken to the heart, to be taken to the different organs that can process the toxins. The earth has had us detox our cosmic karma here. She knew full well it would destroy ecosystems like a terror, that we would be catastrophic. It doesn't mean it's okay. It means it is our charge to end it. It is our charge to heal it. It is our charge to stop making it worse. But how are you going to do that? You get trapped in the hatred when you tune into the animals, and then you shut it down. You need to get back to your heart. When you feel that resentment, understand that you need to commit more deeply to walking barefoot. You need to make sure you find a good place to swim this summer. Cherish what is still here. Cherish it. Be the vibration of the joy of living here. There are plenty of sacred spaces. Are you going to cherish the sacred spaces that are here that you can be a part of? Or are you going to resent the ones that are being tortured by the greed, the sickness? You need to cherish it. You need to love it more than you resent. And then you can pick up on the resentment and use it as a focus, a cold, what can you do to make this better? But if you let it undermine your joy, if you let it prevent you from walking barefoot, oof. Beautiful, beautiful trails in Arizona, walking barefoot through those dirts and stones. Build up those calluses and feeling. Love it. Moonlit walks in those ecosystems, those desert cacti. Oh, goodness. Your heart needs it. Your heart needs to realize. You need to realize when you've tuned into the creature hatred of humans, and say, I honor you, but stay human. Xander, 4-4. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. You're pushing too hard. You're pushing too hard. It's in your navel. You're pushing too hard. You tried. Oh, good for you, man. Good for you. You really tried to take it. You took over negative energies, and you're like trying to outdance them. But that's why you're pushing so hard, and it's not going to work. You got to channel this deeper inside yourself. I can't tell you enough how good yoga would be for you. You need to hold this intensity still. 30 seconds, people. 30 seconds is an ideal form to hold a difficult yoga pose that you can hold. Make that a challenge. Like holding crow for 30 seconds. You don't have to hold it for a minute. Hold it for 30 seconds. You need to focus your power. You need to get it into you. It's still, you've owned the power in your head. And I don't know how old you are, but I'd guess I'd guess you're younger. 20, 28? Tell me. I'd really love to know if this is accurate. And you own something that you're going to spend the rest of your life channeling. So understand that you owned a power. Now you got to get good at it. And part of getting good at it is getting it deeper into yourself. So you use your navel for this challenge. Use your navel for this challenge. And it looks to me like, I would guess, and I really want to know because I'm reading you well, but it looks to me like you're healthy enough. I just posted one of the most challenging practices I've posted, hardcore chakra yoga on Wild Chakra Yoga. I do not encourage everyone to do this, but I bet you can do it. Now, it doesn't mean you can do it first try, but I would like to invite you to take on this challenge. You need to focus your power in your center. You've already owned it. You already succeeded in owning something difficult for your community, for the people around you. You took it. This is a theme that I haven't built much, but you're inviting us to pay attention to it. People take over negative energies and channel them in a different way. And you effectively rode some negative energies that had collected for your community, and you've prevented them from being worse. Good job. Now slow it down, center it, and commit to a longer vision of who you are and what you have to do in this life. And if you're not 28, you're very healthy in an interesting spirit way. So, and young, you've got a youngness to you. Oh, birthday on the 28th. Well, okay. Own it then. Your spirit is young. Your spirit is young, and you are owning something. You have owned something that's going to be with you for decades, but you got to get it into your core. Stop thinking like you're going to make these changes next year. Think 10 years down the road. Good job. Good job. It's enough. Marissa. So I get a vision of you. I get this memory of Superman. The first Superman movie, they had Superman climbing up an incredible cliff, and they actually filmed it with him crawling on the ground. And then they turned the film this way. And I get a vision that you need to do that. The best way to take this on would be in meditation. So I would suggest that you are probably staying awake when you're in turmoil and you need to sit up. And what this does energetically is it allows you to work with the natural spiritual flow of the earth. This is true for everybody. If you stay anxious lying down for 15 minutes, sit up. I don't care what time of day or night it is. If you stay anxious for 15 minutes, get off a soft couch and sit up. Sit up with your back straight against a wall or free. Now you can wrap a blanket around yourself. You could lean against the wall. That's fine. Doesn't matter. But get yourself vertical, Marissa, and 20 minutes of meditation, and then 20 minutes in the middle of the night, then you go back to sleep. Now, here's how I do it. If I wake up in anxiousness, I get up, I sit. I sit as long as it's comfortable. Listen, people, but you in particular, Marissa, keep socks, a blanket, a hoodie, and water near your bed. And whichever of those things you like the most. So you know it's easy. You get up, you put those things on. You sit. Don't do anything. Sit. Sit as long as you can enjoy it. Then pay attention. What part of your body is annoyed? Do yoga for that part of your body. Gentle yoga. You just do a forward bend. Do a forward bend over the other leg. Like real exploratory, gentle yoga where you just breathe. You do that as long as it's fun. The fun is in feeling and breathing. Then you sit again. Now you've taken care of basic stresses. You need this. You've already got too much flowing through you. You need this in order to match the challenges you've taken on already. You need to meet those challenges. This is not another thing to do. This is medicine for stress and anxiety you already are struggling with. You've taken on a level of intensity for your community, for your common unity with the people around you through your work, through your service. You've already taken it on. You got to channel it. When we hold energy still long enough, we transform it. Energy comes to us with the anxieties and confusions and fears that other people hold. We hold that energy. We do yoga. We meditate, and we get to a deeper level of energy that flows through that initial energy and transmutes it. It's service. It's deep service. It's alchemy. It's ancient. You need it. You've already taken on these challenges. You can either quit and leave them or match them, and you can match them. When you wake up in the night, meditate. 20 minutes is enough, but also try that yoga, meditation, yoga, or meditate gentle, do some yoga, meditate again. That I often do that for an hour. I go back to bed. I sleep like I just had the best night ever. Christina. You are identified with your past way too much. Whatever. I've tried lots of things. I've tried lots of roles. If you want to fully change who you are, you just ask yourself, is there any reason you need to be who you used to be? Sometimes we do something in order to avoid something else. It's really that simple. Sometimes you get used to going fishing to deal with a hyperactive mind. Sometimes you get used to watching boxing to deal with inner aggression. Sometimes you get used to cooking fast food to help you avoid, fast, unhealthy food to help you avoid inner stress. You can change that pattern when you address the reason you were doing it to begin with in a better way. So you are still identifying with your past as if you're tainted, as if you are like frozen there. You don't need to be frozen there. You just need to say, okay, I did that for a while. Didn't work very well for me. You get it. Now, heart. You've been cutting off a part of yourself in your past. You had a lot of heart during a phase that you don't really like, but you had a lot of heart. You were being very loving in situations where you were being more loving than other people were being. There's no shame in recognizing this and honoring yourself. And you've kind of been, like, in some ways, you're meaner than you used to be. And that's because you didn't have a better way to say no to this phase of your life. Can you look back and go, wow, there was a lot of beauty in who you were then. That was not the best setting or group of people for you to be hanging out with. Reclaim that beauty and be even more so. Be the person that tried that, moved through that, embodied that, and left that. Transcend it. Be bigger than that. You've been exposed to people who don't think it's possible to change these things. Let them go. They don't know what the F they're talking about. There you are. Now you're pissed. Now there's anger in your heart. No. So, of course you could be a loving, tender person and be angry. There you go. Now it's focused. Let it be. No, there's no point in vengeance. Breathe. No, you don't ever want to do that. Let go. Let karma work. Karma has its own story. People have their own karma. You don't need to be the judge. Now back to your heart. There you go. See, it brings you to a space where you can focus on loving now and keep focusing on it. If you remember your past, look back at that insight I was giving to Chris about tuning your third eye with your heart. You can remember the past in different ways by recognizing which of the memories and feelings are in tune with your heart. The ones that aren't in tune with your heart, let them float through when they come. Don't argue with them, don't struggle them, don't judge them, but let them float through. The ones that are in tune with your heart, breathe and go, yes, hold it that way. See, we all have a choice. We all have this huge range of feelings and thoughts and perspectives on ourselves. You can let them flow through. Just choose to hold the ones that retain the beauty and inspire your heart. And that way you can hold the past in a different way. You change the past, you let it go, you understand the lesson that is essentially the path through it in your memory. Let that be enough. Bless you, Marissa. I promise this works and it becomes positively fun. I love it. It's really exciting. I practically look forward to it. I do, in many ways. Is that it, people? No, that's not it. Right? Moa. Okay, you're still trying to justify something, saying there wasn't a better way. There wasn't a better way. There was a better way. You didn't know it. You're arguing too much with your mind. Breathe. The problem is if you focus too tightly on mental interpretations of your memories, you stay stuck there. Breathe. The healthiest thing you can always do is take care of your body and spirit now. This is why spiritual practice is so awesome. When you notice that your mind is hyper, this goes for everybody. When you notice that your mind is hyper in unpleasant ways, turn to a practice. Then, the point is to get you to the point where you have the skill in basic yoga practices where you can do it when you need to, when things suck. And you start to use these bad memories as triggers to say, I got to do some yoga. And then it doesn't go away right away. You're diminishing its focus. You're focusing on what you can create now. And I promise you it has an impact. 3 weeks, 10 practices, 3 weeks, 10 practices. Think of it that way. 3 times a week, every other day, 3 weeks of every other day. You'll notice significant change. 20 minutes, 3 weeks of 20-minute practices every other day. You'll notice a difference. And then you start, at first you're making a discipline of it. You're just doing it. And then you're saying, oh, I feel like shit now. Guys, to my wife, my kids, guys, I've got to do some yoga. What do we need to take care of so I can do some yoga? Let's get the kids dressed. Let's make my son his lunch, whatever. You do the basics. You carve out time to do yoga as soon as you can. If any of you, and I mean this very seriously, if any of you are working at a place where you can't carve out a 20-minute break when you feel like shit, we need to support you in finding a better job. The job market globally has never been better in human history. Do not stay at a place where you can't take a 20-minute break when you feel like shit. And the purpose of the standing flower, you can do it in an office, all right? You can do it in a corner of an office. And if you work at a place where there isn't a room where you could go and do yoga and be appreciated, you need out and you need our help to find a better job. Was that stern enough? Okay, there you go. What is up with people's hearts today? You're mad in your heart because you're getting hurt. You're getting hurt. It's legit. Now you're making yourself bad because you get mad, aren't you? You're getting hurt. That doesn't mean it's legitimate to go apeshit on people who are bumping into you and getting in your way. They're unconscious. They don't know what they're doing. It's not their fault, whatever. You don't want to make yourself look like an idiot by going apeshit on them. You need to take care of yourself better. And if they actively try to prevent you from doing that within reasonable compromise, meaning, no, you can't necessarily leave the second you feel bad, but you could say, within this afternoon, I need to do yoga. If you're in a setting where you can't carve that out within 4 hours of feeling like shit, you need a different environment. And that's the crux you're at, Mo. So please visit the Wildflowerfire space if you want help. This goes for everybody. Visit the space, go into heartstorming, talk about how you're feeling. We're here to help you. Just being witness can make a huge difference. Claudia. You're celebrating. I just see you dancing and celebrating. Your heart is safe in a way that it's been a long time since you felt this safe, and it's pure. You can trust this. It looks to me like for a long time you've been afraid that if you let yourself trust joy, it's going to get sabotaged. You may encounter resistance to this joy. You're in a good position to make it stronger. Your heart looks safe, but you're still thinking in terms of safe. When you think in terms of safe, you can't fully go into it because you're still a little bit aware of what isn't safe, right? You want to tune in to the healthiest love so you can express it. That still means be conscious. You don't shower people with love who don't know how to receive it. You don't shower people with love in contexts where they can't accept it. But there's a lot of leeway in your life to press this, to reach out and take care of people when they're suffering, to say, I care about you. Develop the skills to say it in a way that's good for whoever it is, but you want to share more love in a very basic way. And start with compassion for those around you when you see and recognize their suffering, because you want to bring it into appreciation. You feel a celebration. Your heart is liberated in a way that it hasn't been in a long time. I'm not going to focus on another theme with you. You need to appreciate the safety and inspiration you're in. You're still looking for a problem to focus on. I'm telling you, you don't need to. It's not in your heart. Your heart is cleansed and healthy in a way that it hasn't been in a long time. I encourage you to trust it. There you go. There's a little baggage. Whatever. You'll get through it. It's not dramatic. So I invite you to just spend a week appreciating anything that feels good with your heart. When you have a good drink, don't listen to something while you have the drink. Look at the sky. Have the drink, look at the sky. Get outside, breathe the air a little earlier in the day. Enjoy it. Say thank you. Just amplify your appreciation. That's all you need right now. And I think you're going to get some insight from yourself that's clearer on next steps to take, but don't rush it. The missing piece is to appreciate this more. You're doing a great job. Bless you, Xander. You're welcome. Shannon. I have to admit, Shannon, I'm already biased today. I had the insight. You could take it to the next level. It looks to me like there's a density. When I see density in people, it means that there's a compression of energy that's like patterns and feelings that are all, none of them are really serving you, but you're carrying them. And at a certain point, that becomes energetic compost. Energetic compost is great. I once lived in Texas. Soon after I activated the 12 chakras, I moved to Austin for a while. And I ended up staying with this, it was a group of people. It was like a couple and their little brother and a son. And they bought this sprawling big house. And one of the things they wanted to do was to drive around to the restaurants and pick up their compost. And it was incredible. They had compost, huge piles, gathering all these buckets from different restaurants. And the vegetable gardens were just exquisite. Shannon, you could get rid of this energy or you could move through it. I promise you, the best way to move through it is to take your yoga to another level. You do it as an exercise in energetic transmutation. This is magic power, people. I mean, I'm telling a lot of people that you could take your yoga to a next level, but I promise you, I'm doing it based on a reflection of your energy. You just have this density, but it doesn't look toxic, Shannon. It's just dense. It's just stuff that needs to be, you just need to turn it over. So in order to accomplish that, this is such a simple secret, people. Oh my God, if you would just give it a hug, give this idea a hug. The processing of composting energy happens in the fire of pushing your edge. If your edge is walking up the stairs, you are accomplishing that. If your edge is doing 5 sit-ups, you are accomplishing that by stepping into that fire and pushing it for 2 more. That's it. You don't need to wait until you could do some ridiculous angle or depth of a pose. The processing of the energy happens in that fire. And you need to be entering that fire more, Shannon. So it looks to me like you've often engaged exercise mentally, where you push yourself to like match certain things, but it's been coming from your mind. When we do yoga this way, we're challenging you. And this is aerobic yoga. Like a lot of the routines on the Wild Chakra Yoga channel are a lot of repeated exercises, a ton of core stuff. Because it's that processing power that helps your chakras tremendously. And you're just sitting there you just got to turn over it. You've got to turn over these feelings. You don't need to think about them anymore. You've thought, you know your problems. You know them. You know them to death. You need to just. That's not always true for folks, and it is true for you. Some people avoid thinking about their issues. Some people never share or never talk. You've done enough to take a substantial step this way. I'd invite you to do the course. I really would. The Sacred Creature course. I really think you need the second one, but you need to get there. That's where you could even start with some of that yoga from the second one, but I would encourage you to do it with the chakra course, because you learn about the chakras and how to process it and interpret what you're experiencing. However you do it, you need a commitment. By all means, join a gym. Like if you approached it yogically and just entered the fire and didn't just use your mind, so you're focusing on that time in the fire, whatever you're doing, it would accomplish the same thing. So that's what you need. You need a commitment to yourself on this level. Last reading, Trevor. You're legitimately happy, and it looks to me like you don't live it because it's like you feel guilty. I'd invite you to change your attitude, and instead of feeling guilty, which isn't helping anybody, ask yourself, like, what is the best service you can give the world from where you are? To me, like, culturally, we're in weird dialogues about how to live the best life, how to understand ourselves in society, how to understand the way society works. And I'm kind of getting off those trains and just keep asking the question, where is your service going to be healthiest? There, you've got some baggage that you can work on, but it's not awful. So you're not going to make much headway if you try to make that the focal point of your life. I think if you look at your heart and you think of deepening it, what happens? Just asking this question, what will deepen your heart? And I'm not going to fill in the blank from there. I would encourage you to just hold that question for a week and explore the answer. And I know that's not more intricate, but I think you're good. You can do that, and you don't need me in your head any more than that. Whew. There's something else waiting, peoples. Oh, man. So this is a real new theme for me, guys. I play a specific role, right? When I tune that guitar, I tune that guitar. You tune one string first. You get that string in a frequency, and then you tune all the other strings in relation to that frequency. I encourage you to understand what we're doing here a little bit like that. First, we're helping each other heal, and I am helping you tune. As I help you tune, I help you understand what's in the way of you tuning. So I had to develop a lot of skills in order to accomplish this. As we build more momentum with each other, as people commit more to being in communion, common union with each other, we're going to have the potential to do more together. Things in the future that are collective, we together could create dreams that are beyond what I can recognize. See that, want that, know that, feel that, because it's what keeps you together with us throughout the course of the rest of your day. And I promise you, we can evoke intensity and presence that makes it relatively easy for you to carry this wild flowing fire with you wherever you go. It's enough. Thank you for being here. It's a beauty to share. I'm excited for this day. The sun is out in a way that I love. I like the clouds too. I like the rain. Embrace it as it is. It'll embrace you back.